Just imagine waking up to find 3 Wall Street listed companies quietly stuffing their corporate war chests with the same coin that you've got rattling around in your MetaMask. Except they're doing it at the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars. And seriously, I almost choked on my espresso when I saw the numbers. Now, here is a quick disclaimer. I am not a financial advisor and nothing in this video is financial advice. Cryptocurrencies are highly volatile and you could lose all the money that you invest. You should always do your own research and consult a qualified professional. Your investments are entirely your responsibility, and you should know that nothing is ever guaranteed when it comes to investing. Neither I, this channel, nor YouTube are liable for any losses. This video is for entertainment and educational purposes only. So picture this, right? It's just a regular Tuesday morning. I'm scrolling X like any old good crypto degenerate, and Missouri, they just drop a thread that basically whispers, hey, corporate America is building an XRP dragon hoard. That's 3 companies. You got WebOS International, VivoPower, and WebuS Health, right? Now, all have all kind of actually filed black and white papers, saying, yeah, we're setting aside real hard-earned shareholder approved cash for XRP. Now, my caffeine, added brain went full detective mode at this point. Why XRP? Why now? And why these eye-watering amounts? So let's start with the heavyweight of the trio then, WebOS International. Now, this isn't some basement startup. They're a NASDAQ listed, and they just told the SEC, we would like to raise up to $300 million, not equity, to build a strategic XRP reserve. And the translation here is that they want $300 million worth of XRP sitting on their balance sheets like a giant, basically sparkling shield. Now, they're not kind of pulling it out of thin air either, right? The filing says that they're going to fund it with existing cash, institutional credit, and shareholder guarantees. And they're teaming up with kind of Samurai Alpha management to do it. And that sounds less like a hedge fund and more like a special ops unit from a Jason Bourne movie. Now, if you're wondering what WebOS actually does, they're actually a knee-deep in global payment solutions. To them, a chunky XRP reserve isn't just flexing, it's actually fuel. So let's think about this. Right? Every time they kind of ping money across borders, they can tap into that XRP pool, settle transactions in seconds, and dodge the kind of slip and slide of, correspondent banking fees. So it's kind of like upgrading from mailing to, at least mailing a handwritten letter to sending instant voice notes then. Except the voice notes actually cost fractions of a cent and arrive before you've actually lifted your thumb off the screen. Next up in our corporate treasure hunt is VivoPower. Now, their press release hit my feed like a plot twist. $121 million raised in a private placement, spearheaded by none other than Prince 𝗗𝗶𝘀𝗰𝗍𝗀. I'm sorry. Try fitting that royal intro into a business guy. I'm murdering it. I'm just to say royal family. Now, Missouri's kind of tweet kind of summarized it as a $121 million XRP play, but the fine print says a significant portion goes to XRP. So either way, VivoPower is actually transforming itself into, quote, the world's first XRP-focused enterprise. Now, that's a pretty bold mission statement, right? Kind of like announcing you'll be the first restaurant that only serves pineapple pizza, except, less controversial. And so that begs the question, why does a renewable energy meets EV retrofitting company want a giant pile of digital liquidity? Simple. Energy deals, carbon credits, and international supply chains move faster when settlement layers isn't stuck in 1973. So let's imagine wiring money from Sydney to, say some other distant land to kind of pay for maybe solar panels. And the bank clerk tells you it's going to clear next week after 3 separate middlemen skim their cut. XRP solves that in seconds, and VivoPower wants to be that poster child. Third on the deck is Ballistics Health. Now, these folks already kind of shook hands on $50 million specifically to buy XRP. Now, health logistics might not sound glamorous, but you got to think of it like moving parts, right? Medicine shipping, temperature-controlled vaccines, hospital billings that crosses borders, and their announcement kind of flat out said that they're going to use XRP for real-time settlements and real-time payments, smoothing out the speed bumps of traditional rails. So picture, shipping insulin from, Miami to Melania, and, having the payment confirmed faster than the actual courier can slap a cold pack sticker on the box. Now that's the dream that they're chasing. Now, if you're thinking, hey, that's a cool story, bro, but 3 companies does not make a trend. So buckle up, right? Because WorkSport said back in December that they'll actually allocate 10% of their operational cash to XRP and Bitcoin. Then, Audit Capital Group stepped in last month. Here's $10 million. We're grabbing XRP this year to fuel our financial service expansions. Even Uncle Sam flirted with the idea of listing XRP among other assets, that could join America's digital stockpile. So that's kind of like your straight-laced uncle admitting that he's been streaming K-pop on repeat. You just didn't see it coming. So what's the problem or challenge hiding under this corporate FOMO then? So for companies, it's a classic triple threat. Inflation chewing holes in cash reserves, cross-border payments stuck in bureaucratic kind of tar, and shareholders who want both security and upside. So sitting on mountains of fiat, like kind of storing ice sculptures in the desert, it's pretty at first, but you're going to watch them melt day by day. Okay, so XRP offers an escape hatch here, a kind of bridge currency with deep liquidity pairs, sub-penny fees, and settlement times so quick that they'll make Lightning look lazy. Okay, so let me sprinkle in some stats so that we're not just living off of pure vibes. Now, according to Ripple's Q1 Liquidity Hub report, average settlement times on the XRP ledger clocked in at around 3 to 5 seconds, with fees under 0.0002 XRP. So let's compare that to the standard SWIFT transfer that can cost $30 to $50 plus recipient bank fees and take 2 to 5 business days. So that's the difference between express shipping and mailing a letter by courier pigeon. And a corporate finance, well, at least in corporate finance, time is money. And it isn't just a kind of motivational poster, right? It's actually cold, hard calculus here, right? Capital tied up for days is capital that can't be reinvested, hedged, or used for payroll. But here is where our story gets juicy. Holding XRP on a balance sheet isn't just about payments. It's actually about optionality, right? Companies can leverage on-ledger decentralized exchanges or offer supplier credit or even collateralized XRP for short-term loans. So just imagine logistics, fronting millions of, at least millions in medical supplies to a hospital in Brazil, collateralized by their XRP reserve and settling the invoice within minutes, right? It kind of turns supply chain finance from a month-long tango into a TikTok reel. Now, of course, there's going to be risks. The elephant, or maybe even the bull in the room, is the volatility, right? One Reddit kind of post sneezes and XRP FUD, and your next kind of treasury reserve swings by 10%. But CFOs, they aren't naive to this, right? They all hedge, they will ladder buys, they will pair with stable assets. Plus, they're comparing that volatility to inflation that erodes dollars every single year. Volatility can be managed, right? Debasement is, a one-way street. Now, let me share a slice of personal context, right? Back in 2017, I was knee-deep in a startup that did cross-border freelance payments. Now, we lost a 5-figure sum. 5 figures just on FX spreads and wire fees in just a single quarter. Now, it was the financial equivalent of death by 1,000 paper cuts. Now, had XRP's on-demand liquidity been mature back then, well, we could have probably padded salaries, hired an extra developer, maybe even bought better coffee. Fast forward to today, and you've got publicly traded firms waking up to the same, revelation. And there's something that I learned the hard way. Let's zoom back out. WebOS raised $300 million. VivoPower wrangles $121 million with Saudi royalty backing. Well, Logistics, grabs $50 million, and that's just the Q2 headlines. If each kind of follows through, that's nearly $500 million poised to flow into XRP. Now, for context, daily XRP spot volume on major exchanges often kind of hovers between $600 million and $1 billion. Now, a single treasury allocation wave could actually eat a noticeable slice of the daily liquidity, potentially nudging price or at least tightening spreads. Now, that doesn't guarantee fireworks, but it sure does add dry powder to the equation. There's also a subtle network effect at play here, right? There's these kind of first movers that aren't just buying coins, they're building use cases, PR, talking points, and a playbook for the next boardroom pitch. So let's picture a mid-cap CEO hearing, hey, WebOS is leveraging XRP for global settlements. Shouldn't we at least investigate? And corporate finance is a copycat sport as well. So once one CFO tests the waters and comes back alive, well, the others, they might just cannonball in. All right, so let's address the skeptics in the kind of nosebleed seats then, right? Isn't XRP still in regulatory hot water? And well, you've got the SEC versus Ripple saga did create, legal soap opera. But remember, Judge Torres' ruling last year, the one that declared programmatic sales of XRP are not securities. Now that ruling kind of, pried open a door for institutional treasuries, especially since secondary market buys on exchanges are genuinely treated as non-security transactions. So institutions, they love clarity almost as much as they love quarterly dividends, and they finally have enough clarity to at least start tiptoeing in. Plus, Ripple's push for global adoption keeps stacking partnerships. Tranglo in Asia, SBI Remit in Japan, Finastra's Payment Hub, all kind of roads lead back to the same thesis here. If your business operates across borders, then you can't afford glacial settlement times. And while stablecoins grab headlines, they rely heavily on banking rails when you redeem. So XRP's native design is to be the kind of only rail needed. Okay, so let's divert for a second to our community hub. Now, if you crave daily crypto deep dives, chart breakdowns, and memes that are 30% educational, 70% therapy, then check out our free educational Discord server. There's a link lounging in the description down below. Seriously, the door's always open and the moderators only bite scammers. And hey, a quick shout out to Blowfin's crypto exchange. If you want to nab XRP or any other coin with low fees and a slick UX, Blowfin makes it ridiculously easy, right? There's a full disclosure though. Our link down in the description is an affiliate link, so clicking it literally helps keep the studio lights on and the caffeine flowing. So for every trade that you do make on the Blowfin exchange using our affiliate link, a small kickback comes to the channel at no extra cost to yourselves. More details can be found in the description down below, and well, we really do appreciate the support. Okay, so let's get back to our story's climax here, because you've got to imagine a quarterly earnings call 6 months from now. A journalist asks, your treasury report's an unusual digital asset holding. Do you care to explain? And the CFO leans in and grins and says, yes, we support 5% of our idle cash, or we swapped 5% of our idle cash for XRP, which saved us $2 million in FX fees and shaved 3 days off settlement times. Now that quote gets retweeted, it gets linked in if that's a word, I don't know, meme-filled and, memeified, and all before you know it, the term strategic XRP reserve trends on Google. Now, we might just be staring at the spark that lights the adoption wildfire. But we do have to keep things grounded. XRP is not a magic get-rich potion. It's a tool. It's like any other asset class with trade-offs, right? Volatility versus inflation, right? Speed versus regulatory fog, decentralization versus enterprise support. Now, the savvy investor or corporation doesn't marry a single solution. They build a diversified kit. WebOS, VivoPower, Wellgistics, they aren't betting the farm here, right? They're just carving out a small slice, small to them anyway, testing it, learning it, and iterating it, right? And that is the kind of real lesson here, right? Measured experimentation beats analysis paralysis. Okay, so takeaway time. First, corporate treasuries are no longer scared of crypto. They're scared of being left behind by faster money. Second, right, XRP settlement speed and on-ledger liquidity are tailor-made for businesses and institutional footprints. Third, regulation is easing just enough for big players to stick a toe in. And fourth, every pioneer that survives paves the road for the next caravan. And so, next time that someone tells you that XRP is old news, point them to the balance sheets of WebOS, VivoPower, and Wellgistics. Numbers this big, they don't lie, and whisper, future trends. And who knows, maybe your personal stack today becomes tomorrow's corporate liquidity anchor.